Corey Brada from the Hawkeye of the Storm, reporting to you here early on Thursday, August 22nd, waking up this morning to news that KIRK Ferentz would be suspended along with assistant coach Jon Budmayr. And I went to bed last night earlier than I normally do, I'll admit that, and the rumors had started to circulate. Actually, when I went to bed, I had reached out to a source late last night after it was initially leaked, I think, on a message board. Somebody reached out to me after posting a video. I think it was T. Hink in the comment section that asked, hey, what's going on with this rumor on the message board? And of course, there's many message boards, but those rumors were circulating last night that KIRK Ferentz would be facing a one-game suspension. The Athletic later confirming that. What do we know about what led to this suspension and how will it affect Iowa? We'll get to that in just a second. I want to be sure that we first thank our sponsors, Under the Kitchen, Randy Engel down in Mitchellville. Check out his stuff, Under the Kitchen on Facebook, also underthekitchen.square.site, and you can check out his stand at Fry Fest for authentic Hawkeye artwork, and Iowa floor covering down in Bondurant. Be sure you consult with them before you start a DIY flooring project, or maybe it's a tile shower. Give them a call, 515-379-7000, or you can visit them online, iowafloorcovering.com. So the news that the Athletic officially relayed to the public last night, late last night, Iowa head coach KIRK Ferentz, along with wide receivers coach Jon Budmayr, are facing a one-game suspension. This news coming just over a week out from game one. Fall camp wrapped up Tuesday night. Move out was Wednesday. KIRK Ferentz scheduled to go before the media on Thursday. But what do we know about this reported suspension that was circulating across the interwebs late last night? Well, according to Scott Docterman of The Athletic, this is related to a recruiting violation with the Cade McNamara situation back in early 2023. Now, just to recap to everybody, and this isn't breaking any news, Cade McNamara committed to Iowa just 3 days after entering the portal. And here's my dialogue on this. I remember hearing reports and scuttlebutt at the time, before Cade McNamara ever entered the portal, that, hey, he's a guy to watch out for if you're Iowa. We hear that all the time, right? From national pundits, etc. Watch out for this guy in this school. Why? Well, one, because there's tampering going on everywhere. And I'm not trying to downplay any violation that KIRK Ferentz, Jon Budmayr committed. And we don't know the extent of what actually happened here. Certainly, a one-game suspension would indicate to me that this was a pretty minor infraction. Now, we don't know if it's self-imposed or if this is an NCAA sanction. KIRK Ferentz will likely confirm that Thursday afternoon during his press conference. Beth Getz declined comment to the New York Times. Matt Weitzel, Iowa Sports Information Director, also declined comment, could not confirm to the AP whether or not this report is true. But again, it's been reported and confirmed by a number of outlets to this point. Keep in mind, Jon Budmayr had previously recruited Cade McNamara prior to being at Iowa. So he recruited Cade back, I believe, when he was the quarterback's coach at Wisconsin. He was an analyst on the Iowa staff when they recruited Cade. And I'm not saying that's a violation, but I remember at the time being like, hey, how is he so involved with Cade McNamara's recruitment? Because we kept hearing that, how integral Jon Budmayr was, and Cade's even commented on that as it relates to him committing to Iowa and wanting to be a part of this program, his relationship with Jon Budmayr. We've had some changes in recent time as it relates to how analysts can be involved with certain duties, but I remember thinking, hey, he's just an analyst, and there are some pretty strict rules on analysts being involved, specifically on the field on Saturdays, but, you know, how involved could they be with recruiting? I remember that was a question that I asked at the time, but nevertheless, according to Scott Docterman of The Athletic, this is related to Iowa contacting Cade McNamara, or at least there being contact between the two parties prior to Cade entering the transfer portal. And so again, we'll probably learn more about this Thursday afternoon, but what does it mean for Iowa week one? Of course, we know Iowa's already down one of their top receivers in Caleb Brown. I question whether he is in the top three at this point. He may be once he comes back, but he's certainly not going to be available on August 31st against Illinois State. And now Iowa is down their wide receivers coach, Jon Budmayr, and KIRK Ferentz, according to multiple reports. course, Iowa should be able to beat Illinois State regardless. I know that's kind of been the consensus over the last 12 hours since this news broke, and a little bit of reading I've been able to do. Most people kind of agree on that, right? They should be able to beat the Redbirds. But this is an Illinois State team that is a preseason top 25 candidate in the FCS. They lost a lot of close games last year. Their one blowout loss was to a national champion, South Dakota State. So don't discount the Redbirds. It will likely be Seth Wallace that takes the place of KIRK Ferentz. Seth was recently named the assistant to the head coach. He's making $1 million a year. The only thing I wonder about that, and I'm not saying that I doubt that's going to be the case, but I do wonder, duties-wise, Phil Parker, we know, is coming off a pretty serious shoulder surgery where he had torn his labrum and his rotator cuff. So Seth Wallace has been thrust into a greater role with the defense as assistant defensive coordinator. He's also coaching linebackers. So you just wonder, duties-wise, August 31st, I'm assuming Phil's going to be back basically full speed. I know he wants to be full speed on the sidelines for August 31st, and that would be able to create more freedom, I would think, for Seth Wallace. And I think that room, the linebacker room, is probably the one room on the field where you're like, we don't have to worry. Like, Jay Higgins is a coach. Nick Jackson is a coach. We keep hearing that about those guys. So Seth Wallace would probably be able to focus exclusively on the head coaching duties. I do wonder about KIRK Ferentz's availability for lead up to the game. And again, that will be a question that I'm sure will be asked Thursday afternoon. I will not be at that press conference, but I'm guessing it will be asked of KIRK Ferentz, hey, can you be around for prep during game week? Because if he's not, then that's probably a bigger storyline than him just not being there on game day. He's not calling plays anyways, right? Some head coaches call plays. KIRK Ferentz is not a play caller. So regardless, you've got Tim Lester as your offensive play caller, LeVar Woods, Phil Parker, Seth Wallace will fill in for KIRK Ferentz. They shouldn't miss a beat. But this is big news. Certainly, KIRK Ferentz is known as a guy who does things by the books. And if this was self-reported, it is a little odd that it came out a year and a half later. And you wonder if Michigan was at all involved with this. Michigan, maybe some sour grapes. I'm just kind of extrapolating. I'm kind of creating my own dialogue now. You wonder if there's some sour grapes. Michigan, they've done all kinds of schemy, crappy stuff over the last year and a half. And you wonder how much of this maybe was created by them, potentially. I don't know. That's just, I'm totally just speculating on that. But Jim Harbaugh just got, a 4-year show cause because of their issues up there with the Connor Stallions sign-stealing allegations. So anyways, we'll find out more Thursday afternoon. KIRK Ferentz scheduled to go before the media at 1:30 Central p.m. I did think that was odd when we got that announcement earlier yesterday about him going before the media following fall camp. I thought that's not a normal thing for KIRK Ferentz to do the week before week one. So we'll find out more from KIRK Ferentz then. Appreciate you tuning in for this brief segment. If you want to hear more dialogue on this subject in anticipation of that press conference, my good friend Mark Rogers of the Voice of College Football over on our sister channel, Iowa Football at the Voice of College Football, spent about a half hour last night as this news broke, speaking to people over at the Voice of College Football. Check it out. I'll throw it up here in the corner of the screen. Check it out. Mark Rogers talking about KIRK Ferentz, Jon Budmayr, etc. We'll talk to you soon.